See, I just wanted to give you guys the update. If you've been following along with my channel, I've been letting you know with my injury and stuff like that what's been going on. So I will get to that in a minute. Basically, what happened was that I was at work and I was doing my normal sorting parcels and stuff like that for the postal service. And basically, what happened was that while I was sorting, I noticed that there was a pinch like in my neck, and that there was a pinch that led with pain all the way down into my arm, and it was just like an excruciating pain that it was just very like, it was a surprise. So it kind of threw me off guard. I didn't know what was happening, and I tried to just keep pushing through it, and then finally it was time to go, work up at the window. At which point, I did so. And when I went to do that, I went to go hand a customer their change. And as I was handing them their change, I noticed that my hand had locked up. And when my hand locked up, all the change came spilling out, and then the pain just got worse. And I think a lot of it had to do with anxiety too. Like I was freaking out inside, like what's happening to me, what's going on in my body. So basically, at that point, I went and spoke to my manager and let him know, like, hey, I don't know what's going on. I can't feel anything in my arm. My whole left side is going numb. What do I do here? So, he gave me the choice. He was like, well, if you need to leave here, then we have to call the ambulance. So they called the ambulance, and I, talked to the police officer out front, let him know what was going on. The ambulance showed up. They put me in the back of it, at which point they put the cuff on me to like check my pressure and stuff like that. And it was just shooting pain, like all the way down into my hand, up into my neck. Like it was something like I'd never experienced before. And, they rushed me to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, they had told me that they believed it was possibly a muscle spasm, or it could have been a pinched nerve. Like they weren't exactly sure what was going on with the injury itself. So, they released me from the hospital. They told me, take a couple days off of work, relax it, ice it, here's some muscle relaxers, see if that helps. So I tried it. That was on a Wednesday. I tried going back to work on a Monday. When I went back to work on Monday, I was still in a lot of pain. The rest helped a little bit to take the edge off, but nothing like crazy. I tried to push through. Wednesday hit again. And then at that point, I'm out with another injury. Again, like the same thing, it's just re-agitated. So again, I'm back to the hospital. They're talking to me again, telling me that, to take it easy, take a couple weeks off, see where I'm sitting at to see if it's something that'll just go away on its own. They said in these cases, like sometimes these things just resolve on their own with just rest. I was coming out of the busiest time of the year for us, which is the Christmas season, or the holiday season. And, they thought maybe it was just irritated there, and then it just had its final straw when I was working that day. So I tried to take off another week and a half, at which point I was just resting and taking the muscle relaxers and mostly sleeping, because that's all they were doing was making me go to sleep. So I go back to work. I'm pushing on a Monday. I'm pushing through that week. It's extremely painful. I don't know what to do. I've tried the muscle relaxers. I'm taking Aleve. I'm taking Tylenol. I'm taking all this stuff, and nothing is doing anything. It's not even putting a dent into what's going on. So, I pushed through the week, went into the weekend. I was in so much pain. I knew I shouldn't go back to work at that point just because it was so painful. But, my boss was going to be on vacation, and I knew that we were going to be low man, and I didn't want to let my people down that I work with, because they rely very heavily on me to get the mail sorted and stuff, since I'm the only clerk in the building, or at least I was at that time. So I started to go into work the day after President's Day of last year, and it just made it so much worse with the workload. I was trying to do, what I always was used to doing with the sorting and stuff, and my body could not keep up with it whatsoever. The pain was just throbbing. I was feeling nauseous. My vision was getting out of control. It was just so much to deal with. And I noticed when I went up to the front to work the window again, my neck had slightly dropped. The back of my head just kind of flopped back. And it was enough that feeling when you're sitting in a chair and you go to fall. It was enough that to jolt me. And it just was accompanied by so much pain, in my neck, in my shoulder, in my arm, in my hand, this squeezing feeling, right here, of somebody just squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. And it was just so bad. It just kept going and going and going. And at that point, I just said, there's no possible way that I could stay and keep doing this. Like, I have to go back to the hospital again. I have to figure something out. I have to get better. So I went back to the hospital again, and, you know, they had just wrote me a note and told me that, you know, you have to take it easy. You can't just keep going back. You can't keep doing this. So at that point, I went and I stayed out of work. I started using all my sick leave and my annual leave, and I was getting notes from my primary doctor and stuff to show that I was actually injured while we were trying to figure out a solution to the problem. During that time, I had like an incredible amount of panic attacks and anxiety. I mean, they were happening all the time. And I think a lot of that was attributed to I didn't know what was happening to me. I had no idea. And every day was just a nightmare. My vision was getting all blurry. You know, with that, my neck was just in so much pain. It felt like somebody was constantly yanking on it. My shoulder was giving out, like squeezing in my arm, and in my fingers, they were going numb. It was just a weird thing that just kept happening. So I tried to just keep pushing through it, you know, as positively as possible, to take the muscle relaxers that they were giving me and, you know, try to listen to what the doctor said. But if anybody that knows me is, I don't really like taking prescription medication because I always seem to find that the, thank you, Stormy. They seem to have this effect with me where like I have like all these bad symptoms a lot of the times I take them. It's not every time, but like a lot of the time, like I've noticed, especially with those sort of things, like I get these like issues, or I focus on the small side effects and they just drive me crazy. So, you know, I didn't want to take the muscle relaxers anymore. They just made me sleep. They made me tired. They weren't helping the solution. I mean, they might knock the edge off, but that was about the extent of it. From there, what they decided to do was when I was in the hospital, they told me about this place to help with my anxiety while I was going through all this, and it was called the MHA. And I'd never heard of this place before. It's actually a place right here in town, about a minute and a half from my house. And they sent me over there, and basically what it is when you go inside, it's like a safe haven for people who are going through crisis. It's a safe haven for people who are having mental health issues or just need to talk to somebody in general. They pair you up with somebody pretty quickly, and at that point, you know, you can talk to them and get the help that you need. So it's a great place. It's funny too, because when I went in there, my old neighbor, when I used to be engaged to my child's mother, actually is one of the people that runs the group therapy and stuff. So we got to talking, and, you know, she had invited me to come and, you know, help out there and stuff once I got better. You know, to help other people, to kind of take this platform that Stormy and I have been using, and to put it to real use, like in person. You know, we could do different activities and stuff like that. So it's definitely something that I look forward to getting into once I actually get fixed. You know, to help people one-on-one for sure, and to, you know, shed some light on the things that are going on in life, especially, you know, during these times. So, after that, they prescribed me some medication. Between them and my primary, they gave me Klonopins, which I used to take a long time ago. I never really cared for them. It was not something that I was super interested in. They didn't really do anything for me. Like, I mean, they would just make me feel like dopey, and I didn't really like that. So I wasn't keen on taking them. So they tried to give me Ativan. I tried Ativan. It just kept giving me rebound anxiety, so I immediately stopped doing that. Like, it was just not helpful for me. And then that's when they had told me that they wanted me to start taking Lexapro. And I knew that my anxiety and panic attacks weren't something that was like a constant with me. They were only happening really like back in the past after like a night of drinking or something. That's when I had them the most, or every once in a blue moon it would just occur out of nowhere, but it would usually be resolved pretty quickly. But, you know, she said, my doctor had told me, you know, why don't you try it? See, it should take away all that. Well, I didn't do my due diligence as far as what this was going to do. So I believe it was Memorial Day weekend was when this happened. I took the pill at 12 o'clock, the Lexapro. By 7:30, I was in full-blown panic, anxiety attacks like I'd never felt before. Between that and the neck pain and the vision getting messed up from whatever issues I was having in my neck, it was just wild. I'd never experienced something like that before, like ever. And I never hope to experience something like that ever again. It was probably one of the scariest things I've ever been through. It was just giving me the craziest thoughts and making me feel so unbelievably sick, like in my brain. And I just didn't know what to do at that point. So I immediately just took the one pill and didn't take it again. And the week kept going on, but then around 7 to 7:30 every night, I was going through the same symptoms. They just kept coming back up, and they would last for like 4 or 5 hours where I felt like I was going insane. And I didn't know what to do. It was the craziest thing. And thank God at that time, my roommate Steve kind of was like there with me. He made sure everything was okay. My wife also was coming in, Stormy, checking in on me from afar, making sure that everything was okay, and just trying my best to get through it. And it just came to a culmination because that was I think a Sunday that I took it. So that Friday, I was just really like gone. Like I was so beat up internally from having this crap like keep mentally messing with me. And Stormy had actually given me the idea. She said, why don't you take Benadryl? It'll probably help. She read it help with anxiety, but it would also help me sleep at the very least, because I wasn't sleeping much because of the pain and then what that medication was doing. So I did that. Well, in what me and my brother like to call the Belisi luck, come to find out that I'm allergic to Benadryl. I was having just the craziest reactions. My throat was swelling up. Like I was just losing my mind. So I had to go to the hospital again at midnight. Then they gave me some medicine that made it kind of counteract whatever was going on. And then they discharged me about 4.5 hours later. But it was just a culmination of all this. So I asked the doctor, while I was there, I took this Lexapro once. Why am I still having these symptoms? And he said, oh, well, it has a shelf life of about 6 days, even if you just take one pill. He goes, so if you're still having problems in a couple of days, then you should see somebody. And sure as shit, the next night, it went away. Like on the 7th day, it was gone. I wasn't feeling that anymore. So, I flushed all that, and I was just like, I never want to be in contact with any of that sort of medication ever again. And again, I didn't believe that I needed it to begin with. It was just one of those things that, you want to try anything to get out of being in pain, to get out of having panic attacks. I mean, it was like panic attack all day long, followed by just excruciating pain in your neck and in your arm, and you don't know what's going on. Like, I can't even explain to you, too. Like, I'm watching TV, and my vision is so bad that, like, everything is blurry. It keeps going, like, in and out, and it's just a weird feeling. And, I'll get to what all that was in a second, but at that point I was going through the process of workers' comp because I got injured on the job, and it was because of the job. And every doctor and every hospital I talked to, they're like, yeah, like this is a workplace injury based on you got hurt at work. 2, this is a common injury for postal workers. It's just from overuse and repetitive motion. And even the guy explained to me in the hospital, he said, what's the physical part of your job? And I said, well, sorting parcels. So he said, well, when you scan them, what do you sort them with? I said, well, I scan them with my right hand and sort them with my left. And he said, that repetitive motion of constantly doing this for almost 12 years, he said, it'll do that. He said, probably because of the Christmas situation of being alone and working 12-hour days, I probably really agitated it, and then just it finally had enough. Still not knowing what the actual diagnosis was, workers' comp had told me that I need to go to a neurologist, so I began going to a neurologist. And when I went to the neuro, the issue is with workers' comp doctors, unless you do your own due diligence to find a doctor and you just go off of their website, all of their doctors, at least for where I live, are so unbelievably far away. So the neurologist I was seeing, he was about an hour away. And when you can't drive, that's really difficult because you have to rely on somebody to either take off of work or find an appointment when they're out of work. And that's, a very stressful thing. I haven't been able to drive since February of last year. It was the last time that I've actually driven like normally. I've tried every now and again to do it. I usually get about 10 minutes into it just because I want to see where the injury's at, and then it all comes rushing back as far as the symptoms go. So I'm going to the neurologist. The neurologist thinks that I have a compressed nerve. He cannot tell me where, so they sent me for a bunch of MRIs. I wound up having 3 different MRIs because they wanted to see if it was a compressed nerve or if it was TOS, which is thoracic outlet syndrome, which is another thing they try to diagnose me with. They were prescribing me naproxen, which was like 750 milligram naproxen. I would take one of these things and I would just be like loopy and out of it. Like, I'd be so unbelievably tired. And I know it's just like a leave, but it's like a very strong form of it, or at least the milligrams they gave me. So it was just making me so unbelievably tired and out of it. And, when I would take it, I started having gastro issues at that point. I wasn't able to tolerate any food. I was just having these burning sensations like right here, and it just kept shooting up and just making the symptoms of my issue with my neck 10 times worse. So it got to the point where like I wasn't eating because I just didn't want to deal with the pain of it. And, so I had to go start seeing a gastroenterologist. And I mean, this guy that the only gastro on their list was almost 2 hours away. I mean, it was almost going into New York City. It was the next stop before getting into New York City itself. And, he told me that he believed that the naproxen had given me a stomach ulcer, and that was probably what the issue was. So they started putting me on a medication called omeprazole, and that I was taking, and it seemed to be helping a little bit at first. I took it for a couple months, and then they went and did an endoscopy, and they said at that point they believed the ulcer was cleared up, so they wanted to wean me off of the omeprazole. So I started doing that, and of course the symptoms just started coming back. They're still to this day here. I'm in the process of seeing another gastro to get that rectified. They're just putting me on a different type of medication to hopefully resolve it. But I haven't been able to, in like 7 or 8 months now, been able to eat anything more than plain chicken and yogurt. With that, while I was going through all this pain and stuff like that, if there was an especially trying day or something like that, like I would drink a little bit to kind of take the edge off, because it was the only thing I knew that was taking the pain away. And like then I was able to like function. I was able to just, even if it was for like 6 hours or something like that, just not be in pain. But of course, the day after drinking, it's more agitated, it's more bothered and stuff. And I had been talking about like quitting drinking completely for a very long time. This was just the avenue that I needed to do so. I can actually say that I am 200 and I believe 4 or 5 days without a single drink, which I'm very proud of. It's been such an incredible thing to experience. I got my chip, my 6-month chip. I'm getting close to 7 months now. It's just been a great feeling. It's not, like I said, it's something I always wanted to do, and I just needed the right motivation to do it. So, there's been blessings in disguise with this injury as well, and that was one of them for sure. I do feel great. I have no intention whatsoever of ever going back on that. It's just something that was a long time coming. So, to get back to the story, I'm seeing the neuro, and they say at this point, it's best to go see a pain management doctor to see what they can do for you as far as possibly getting shots. So I started going to the pain management doctor. I didn't want to keep going off of that list. I wanted to try to see if I could find somebody local, and I'm glad that I did, because the doctor I found is only about 10 minutes away, and he's an incredible doctor. He started me on the process of getting the epidural shots, and then he told me too, it was the weirdest thing. So before, when I said I had those MRIs, they were trying to rule out thoracic outlet syndrome. They did an MRI on my cervical spine. They did it on like my shoulder, and then they did it on my brain, because they thought at one point too it could have been MS. Thankfully it wasn't. They ruled all that stuff out, because there's no scarring on the brain, or there was no thoracic outlet like indignifiers or anything like that. So I walk into his office. He sits down. He looks at the MRI. I kid you not, within 30 seconds he goes, you have 2 herniated discs. And I said, are you sure? And he goes, yep. And he showed me right on the MRI, C6 and C7 are herniated. And he said those are the ones that attribute to, motor functions and stuff too. So I'm like, okay. Like, finally, somebody was able to look me in the face and tell me with, definite possibilities that this is exactly what it is. And I'm always on the fence. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, maybe he's wrong. I don't know. It just seems like odd, because it's where he's showing me, it's like down here. But all my pain is coming here. So I'm not really understanding it, but, you have to do what the doctor says. So he scheduled me for my first epidural shot. I went, I got it. Told me the first 2 days I would feel great. He was right. The Novocaine was in. I felt indestructible. I felt like my normal self. But I felt, more than anything, I felt glad that they finally had pinpointed what it was. Because once he gave me that Novocaine shot in the epidural, it just went away for like 2 days. So I felt great. They do the shots on Tuesdays. So, Wednesday and Thursday, everything was great. There was no issues. Like, I just felt like normal again. But then, sure enough, by the weekend, Sunday especially, it just hit me. It came crashing down, literally like a ton of bricks, just whacked me, and I just went 10 times worse, like back to day one of the injury. It was just so incredibly painful. And I was scared at that point. I didn't know what had happened. But, we came to the realization, because once they give you the shot, they make you kind of chill for a month where you can't do anything. You kind of just have to like let it go in and stuff like that. So basically what happened at that point was that I'm waiting for the shot to settle in and nothing's changing. So I go and talk to him again. And when I speak to him again, the doctor goes and tells me, he says, basically what happened is we have to angle it correctly. That one might have agitated it, but, we'll try another shot and we'll see if we do it better. So, I'm skeptical about it, but again, you have to follow what the doctor's saying. So I go in, they get the shot, and basically when you go in there, you just like derobe and everything into like a hospital gown. They make you lay down on almost like a massage table, and they like strap you in so you can't move, and then they inject like a Novocaine into, the spine, and then they go again with the epidural, and then it kind of like turn it while they're like spraying the epidural fluid. And what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to make the herniation shrink and kind of go back into place. So what wound up happening was that I have it again. Everything the first 2 days are okay. By the weekend, it's a little off. It's still painful because the Novocaine wore off. But then I'm noticing it took my symptoms from like a 10 out of 10 down to a 10 out of 7. So it made my day-to-day a little bit easier. I was able to actually get up and like sweep the house. Or I was able to get up and like take a shower without pain. Or to go downstairs and sit upright for longer periods without, the pain inevitably setting in. So I was super optimistic at this point. I said, wow, like this is incredible. Like I can't wait. Like let's get to it. Let's keep going. It didn't take me where I needed to be. I tried to drive. I maybe made it like to my old hometown, to anybody that's watching, where we came from up on Pasagi. I tried to drive there from Newton, and it didn't work. I came back and I was having so much pain in my shoulder and in my neck and my vision and everything. It was not good. So I explained that to the doctor, and he said, well, he goes, at least we're hitting the right spot because you did see some improvement. Like, let's try it again. So they gave me the third epidural shot. The third epidural shot was going great. Like, I would say maybe 2 weeks into it. It was 13 days exactly into it. I felt invincible. I felt great. I felt like I was getting back to my normal self, which is why I posted that update video thinking that I was going to be back and everything was cool. But it only lasted for 5 days. And then after that 5 days, it just went right back. And I noticed it because I tried to drive again, and it just came shooting back. Because my doctor told me, if you're feeling good, like, try driving. Like, try the things you're normally used to do. See, like, if you can do it and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I'm not. Unfortunately, we're not where it's supposed to be. It's not a good feeling. After I tried to drive, I was laid up the last 9 days, just laying in bed watching TV. It's been an absolute nightmare. I felt so optimistic. I really did. I felt so optimistic that this was going to be something that was over and done with, just because, the pain had finally started to go away, but it's not. So I went and saw the doctor again on Monday, which is what I was telling you guys last week. I saw him again on Monday and basically told him what had happened, explained to him about, how I felt for those 5 days and then the driving and stuff. And, he just told me, he said, at this point, we can't keep giving you the epidural shots. They're not working as effectively as they need to be working. You're probably going to have to go the surgical route. So I'm in the process now. I got in touch with a surgical doctor that's local. They're talking to workers' comp sometime within this next week or two to make sure that everything is copacetic as far as, getting the surgery done, that it is the next step, that there's nothing else that they want to do beforehand or try. So I just have to wait. At this point, I have to wait for workman's comp to approve it, and then I can start the consultation and inevitably go for the surgery. From what they explained to me when it comes to the surgery is they're going to make an incision somewhere around here. If I'm a candidate for it, they'll go through the front and they'll remove the herniation. They basically just suck it out, is how I was explained. At which point I'll be in a neck brace for a month. But I mean, I got to do what I got to do to get better, because it's just so incredibly painful. When I wake up in the morning, I don't know if it's going to be a good day where I'll be able to watch TV or do light things around the house, or if I'll wake up and be in excruciating pain. Everything's just a toss-up, and I mean, I think that's like one of the worst things about it. You know, you never know when it's going to happen. I mean, I've learned within my limitations that I can't lift things anything more than maybe like 5 pounds. Anything more than that, I'm running a risk. So you know, that's one thing. Another thing is, like, I thought, okay, maybe like I'll play video games or something like that to keep my mind occupied. But when you're sitting up for so long, that's when it really starts to kick in. You know, you have to take periodic breaks where you lay down and put ice on it and then kind of like chill, let it like resolve. Because sitting up for too long, it's another thing. I've also learned from talking to people, like if people came to visit me to see how I was doing, or even talking on the phone, I tend to nod my head when I'm speaking to someone, like I'm listening, like I'm in agreement. And when you do that, like, it creates so much pain. I've been trying to like deprogram myself to not nod my head when I'm talking to people because of how much pain it brings on. I mean, just a couple months ago, if I would have even been talking this long, it would have been so painful. Like I would try to read my book aloud and stuff like that, and it just the pain, I guess, from just moving my jaw and stuff and irritating it. And I asked the doctor about it, and he said, you know, when you're looking forward, it's 25 pounds of pressure that's on those discs. When you look down to your shoes, it becomes like 50, and then when you tuck your chin, it's like 75 pounds of pressure. He goes, so that's another reason with the driving. You're doing the gas brake, and when you're driving, you don't realize how much you're actually turning your neck to look left and right, looking in the directions, or gas and brake, you're constantly going back and forth and stuff. It's just putting pressure on those things, and then they just swell up, and then they hit the nerve, and then I'm back to square one. And then it's just a waiting game until they kind of just like let off a little bit, and then day by day I get a little better, and then hope that I don't re-agitate it. And it's like, re-agitating it is just doing simple things. It's not like I'm out like, you know, doing somersaults or, you know, having a blast. It's simple things like bending over to pick up the laundry, and then boom, it just irritated enough because I tucked my chin. Or like one time I was walking down to go get the garbage can from down by the mailbox just so I can get outside and get fresh air, and it just irritated it again. Just that bouncing motion when you're walking down, like even stairs, like it causes so much pressure and so much pain. And you know, but again, with that being said, like there's been a lot of downs when it comes to it, but there's also been a lot of good things. And you know, one of the good things is that many months ago, or actually it was like more like a year and change ago, working at the post office, you know, you meet a lot of people and a lot of customers, and one of my customers actually came in, and I've known her for a couple years now. Her name is Diane. She came in, and she had, like, we'd always talked. Like, I knew her kids from high school. I wasn't really like friends with them and stuff, but like I knew of them, and I knew the people I associated with my group growing up hung out with like the two siblings. So, you know, I had made mention to her a while back. I was like, oh, like I went to school like with your kids, and that's what got us prompted to like talking. So I would see Diane probably like 4 or 5 times a week. She would come in because she sold on Poshmark and Mercari, so she would come in and mail her packages out when she sold something. So we would, you know, chat maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes sometimes. And she had told me that her daughter was like in a bad relationship, and, you know, that she wasn't happy and she was going through things, and she also had a child that was my daughter's age. And you know, and I knew of Cass, like I knew her from high school and stuff, and like people that I hung out with back in the day, they also, you know, hung out with her as well, but our paths like never really crossed. The day that I got injured and taken out of the post office in an ambulance, I happened to see Diane in the parking lot, so I waved to her as I was getting loaded into the ambulance. And when I went back to work that following Monday, she came in because she had made mention a couple months before. She was like, oh, like, are you single? Like, I would love to have you as like my son-in-law. You know, I was like very honored because I always thought Cass was very pretty and stuff like that. And I was, you know, but I kind of took it as a joke. Like, to begin with, I didn't think that it was actually going to be anything of it. But, you know, what wound up happening was that when I came back that Monday, she came inside and she was like, oh, well, you know, what's going on? And I explained to her, and she's like, well, this will cheer you up. And she gave me Cass's number. So I remember I walked into the back, and that's when I started texting her. I didn't think really anything of it. I didn't know if anything was going to come of it. Like, I just was talking to her and stuff like that. And then, it kind of just went on from there. And now, now I'm married to her. So, yeah, it's been a year. In 3 days, it'll be a year since we started dating. She was with me throughout this entire injury and stuff, and she's been great, helping me along with it. I know you're probably thinking, like, how do you get married if you have a neck injury? Well, like, we wanted to get it done for, like, insurance and stuff like that. So basically what happened was the mayor of the town came to my house, and we just signed the paper. There really wasn't anything more than that. It was literally like a 5-minute ceremony, just real quick, and then just signing the paper. We do plan on having like a real wedding. Once I get fixed, we're looking at May of next year, because we would assume at that point that my surgery would be taken care of and that everything would be okay. But it really just depends. I can't see it going on that long. I would assume that sometime this year with the surgery, I'll be okay. At least that's what the doctors tell me and stuff. And I'm confident in that. I'm confident that, they know what they're talking about and it's going to get fixed. So, then we'll start planning that. But, we just wanted to do it to have the paper signed and stuff. So, she could get on like my good insurance, and her son could also be covered and stuff like that. And, in those little moments and stuff that I was feeling better, we wound up, getting pregnant, and that was another big reason. So I'm going to be expecting my first boy come July, and I'm very excited about it. I'm more excited to get healed so I can be a dad to him and be there and be able to handle it. So I'm trying to get workers' comp as fast as I possibly can. I'm being as cooperative as possible to get me in, get me seen, get me fixed, get the healing to start beginning so I can be back on my feet and be there when I'm needed the most. And it's just all coming together. It's all happening, and it's such a great feeling, especially being surrounded by people who care so much. Stormy especially. She's been my best friend for such a long time, and she's always been there for me, and I can't thank her enough for always checking in on me and making sure I had everything I need. And when she used to send me like care packages and stuff like that because she knew I couldn't drive. But just the support in general, just messaging me to make sure that like I'm mentally good and that everything is, copacetic, and just being that support system. It's truly been, one of the greatest things I could have hoped for. You can't ask for a better best friend. You really can't. To thank Steve, who used to live with me. I know if you guys have watched our lives and stuff, that he's done the readings with us and, been a part of that. To thank him as well. He was being a big instrument in getting me rides because my daughter lives an hour away. So he would give me rides to go get her all the time. Or, when I was feeling down about the Lexapro and stuff like that, he like forced me to go outside and, kind of get fresh air. And, there's a picture, I'll post it sometime. He took me out on a boat, like I'm in a full neck brace and stuff so that my injury's not getting even worse. And I just loaded up full of Tylenol. And he took me out on the fresh water and stuff like that. And honestly, that was like a big thing that helped me through like the depression part of this whole injury and being just confined to the house. It's exactly 1 year to the day since was the last day I was at the post office. I've just been confined basically to this house for 1 year exactly today. It was a big instigator in why I wanted to do this live too. Despite how much pain I'm in right now, like, and how much I can feel it, like, in my neck and in my arm especially, I just wanted to get it out there and, get it done. My, another shout out I want to give to was my mother-in-law, Diane, for being there for me, for trying to cheer me up and for trying to get me out of the house and take me, like, to do errands and stuff like that. It's been great. It's been definitely keeping my mind active. And it's just been a fantastic thing to have such a good support system. And also with that being said, my wife as well, Cass has been great through all of this. I know it hasn't been easy on her, especially with going down to Lyndhurst all the time to get my daughter, especially because my daughter is like the busiest person in the world between her cheerleading and her CCD and everything else that she does down there. You know, Cass has been incredible through helping me out and, you know, getting the rides that I need to get done to get her and get her back, to take me to doctor's visits, to being by my side when I was in the hospital numerous times, to helping me around the house, you know, getting me ice packs, and just being there and being supportive. I mean, even when I had my endoscopy, you know, I was afraid of getting knocked out because of the, you know, when they knock you unconscious. I was always afraid of getting those things done, the anesthesia. And, you know, she helped me through it. She made me, you know, believe like it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be right. Like, I'm here. I'll be here when you wake up. Like, it'll be okay. And she was, and it was great. And, you know, we actually went and had that done on her birthday. And, you know, she sat there on her birthday, her 36th birthday, and just like made sure everything was cool, made sure I was okay, made sure that everything. You're definitely blessed even in the worst time. Yes, yes. And I'm blessed because of the people I am surrounded by, especially. You know, and on top of that too, you know, I always had faith. I've found that I've practiced it way more, especially since this injury as well, which has been another great thing for me too. Coming back into that, I was always raised Catholic, but actually coming back into it and practicing it, you know, each and every week, it's also been like a great thing for me too, for my mental sanity and how I feel. So, you know, there's a lot of positive within the negative. And, you know, some of the things I want to talk about before I wrapped up was, you know, some of that positivity, because I want to leave it on a positive note before I decide to do this again whenever I'm able to do so. You know, if it were up to me, I would do it, you know, every day and get back into the swing of things. But it's just when I start trying to do that, it's when the injury starts. And I'm not a person who likes to let people down. When I say I'm going to do something, I usually try to follow through with it most of the time. And, you know, this is just another testament to that. And it's because every day I don't know if I'm going to be injured or not. I don't want to get back on the train of our weekly schedule where we're helping people and stuff, and then I can't do it because of how I'm feeling. And, you know, once this gets resolved, absolutely, we're going to get back to it. Just like I'm going to get back to publishing that third book. I haven't been able to work on it in a year because of this injury. And, you know, I have all these ideas in my head on the 4 chapters that I want to do, but I physically can't do it. I find even now to this day, writing or even typing, it just immediately starts a problem. I mean, even laying down trying to play PlayStation and stuff like that, I don't know if it's because of the mashing of the controller or whatever the case may be, but yesterday I tried it and like I just had a screaming headache and like neck pain all day long, to the point where I just had to keep my eyes closed most of the day and just like listen to what was on the TV. And, you know, I can't keep going through things like that. And I can't keep letting myself down, and I can't keep risking going through days of being laid up just to do something as innocuous as talk for an hour. Like it's just too difficult at this point in time. But we will get back to it for sure. And we will get that book published and get the Paradise series to come to a conclusion. It's definitely going to be an exciting time when that happens. I'm hoping that it's this year. As long as the surgery works, I don't see why it wouldn't. I have all the ideas that I need to as far as that goes to finish the publication. And then I can get that done. Another thing that I was working on, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I am wearing the Split Personalities brand. I always came up with that name many years ago when I was in college. I was going to use it as a design company for us to make video games and stuff, but obviously that never panned out, so I wound up writing books instead. But within that, you know, I wanted to keep the legacy going. So I created a new logo and stuff. You can't really see it on this shirt. These are just test shirts that I ordered, but it's kind of like a skull right here, you know, kind of exploding. I did have, I'm not sure what I did with it, but I did have stickers drawn up, and I do have them somewhere. And those stickers will be available for purchase as well if anybody was interested in, you know, having the logo on them to represent and stuff. But, you know, I started designing while I was laying down on Canva, especially, you know, all these different images and stuff that I thought might look cool, you know, within my means. And it's just something that kept my mind occupied. So like this one, for example, I tried it with like the purple logo, and on the back of it, I'll show you, it should say like, "You're not alone." It was like my mental health advocacy shirt. You know, I thought it was just a cool design that I come up with that I added to it. And, you know, there's a bunch of them that we have. And they're pretty cool logos, I think. Some of them are really funny. I made a couple that said, like, I survived the mailroom, and, you know, that you support local authors. Thank you. Yes, I thought this was a good one, too. There's actually one that's even better. I'll see if I could take you over to find that. Let's see. So there was a couple of them that, you know, I wanted to test run and see how they went, and I don't know what happened to it, but I think I got it. Okay. So I wanted to just do a test run and see what happened with these. So one of them I went to order, I made like an Italian Pride one, and Zazzle kind of dropped the ball when I ordered it. They only did the front. I mean, you can see the logo a little better. They only did the front, but they didn't do the back. So I'm in a little bit of a dispute with them to get that resolved, but we're coming along. And then the other one I did, so I took this picture many years ago of my daughter when she was sitting at the post office, and I had her make like a funny face and stuff, and I had her give the middle finger. It's still the background on my phone after all these years. And I made it into a shirt. I didn't know if I was going to sell this one. I just wanted to get it made for more like me and like my family and stuff like that to think it was funny. But that was it. It's like the classic one. Stormy got that for me and sent it over. And then it has the logo on the back. You know, just other cool things. So I started doing like mouse pads and things of that nature. You know, I came up with another logo for the brand and stuff like that too, which I thought was pretty cool. I even made brand t-shirts with that, and that came out really, really good. I'm really like a big fan of how that turned out. So Zazzle helped me a lot with that. Also Canva, coming up with different designs. It helped me push through like the depression and stuff that went along with being, you know, basically bedridden. So I was able to get that done. So that'll be something that'll go live when I go back. I was also thinking of different ways to just like keep my mind occupied, and, you know, coming up with different subject matter that we could talk about when we start coming back to things, and, you know, different like things we can do to help people and to, you know, be a part of things. So once we get back into the swing, like I said, I don't know when for sure it's going to be. I'll definitely put more updates out there as I know more, but at this time, I just don't know when it's going to happen. I have to take it day by day, unfortunately, and, you know, Tylenol has become like my best friend every day. Just taking that, and it takes the edge off and kind of makes it tolerable. I mean, I'm on 2 Tylenol right now just to push through this and get this done. But it was just something that was very important to me to, you know, talk to everybody and let everybody know like my condition and how I was doing. It's been a long road. To everybody else that I didn't mention, you know, that's reached out to me and tried to help me through this time, you know, people from work and stuff, customers as well, reaching out to me and making sure that I was okay. Like, I really, really appreciate it. I wish that I was able to come see anybody or spend time, but unfortunately, you know, as I'm sure the people close to you will tell you, like, I'm just confined to being stuck here, and it's very stressful. It's very daunting. You know, I want to say after a while, you kind of just like blend into it, and it's just like you try to think of little things and give yourself tasks every day so that way you don't go stir crazy. But it's watching a lot of TV, and, you know, with me not eating and stuff too, I've actually lost a lot of weight. I've actually lost 20 pounds in this whole process, and I mean, that's just another positive of it. But at the end of the day, you know, it's still incredibly, incredibly painful. My vision has gotten better, I can say. It's not fully back to normal, but it has definitely gotten better. They told me that because it's compressing on the nerves and stuff like that, that it could be affecting the optical of it all. I don't really understand how that works, but they seem to think that it's a normal thing that goes with it, along with the pulling and, you know, the finger numbness and everything too. I'm just hoping to get back to my normal self. I'm hoping to get back out there, publish those books. I've got other ideas for books that I wanted to start working on as well. It's just a matter of when. So, to everybody that joined through the live chat to check in, to hear what was going on, and anybody who missed it or missed the beginning of it or anything, like I'll post it on YouTube with a link on our Facebook so you could also catch it there to watch the whole thing. But, at the end of the day, I really can't wait to get better. I really can't wait to, be done with all of this and get back to being normal. I'm very excited to go back to our lives with Stormy. Nice. I'm very excited to go back to doing those. And I am even more excited to finish reading the second book to you guys, because I know, we were going through it. And I believe we left off on chapter 12 or 13, so it'll be good to get back into that live. Now, we don't have Steve here in the house to help us read and stuff like that, but, I'm sure me and Stormy, or Stormy and myself, will be able to make it entertaining for you guys, to be able to keep it lively like we used to do. I wish I could do it now. I wish I could just read through it and stuff like that. And, when I'm feeling a little more stable, with the injury, I definitely will. If you haven't checked it out yet, if you haven't been a part of our journey and you want to catch up or check it out, I do have 2 books published currently. They are of a 3-part series of what I like to call the Paradise Collection. If you look, I actually have them above my head. So at the very top there, we have The Souls of Paradise, which is my first book. The one next to it, Paradise Reborn, which is my second book. And then the new book, which I preemptively printed out, which is Paradise Eternal, which will bring a conclusion to the Paradise series. I know before I got injured, I read the story to Stormy, and I'm sure she could tell you that she really liked it. It's a very sad ending, but it also is a fulfilling one. It, kind of brought a conclusion, I believe, in a very satisfying manner to the entire series, because when I was writing it, I usually go chapter by chapter, but I got to a certain point where I was hitting a dead end, and I had an epiphany at work, and I was like, oh, I know how exactly I want this story to end, so let me just write the ending now. So I wrote the last 2 chapters, and it kind of screwed me up, because I was like, now I gotta go backtracking and stuff like that. But yeah, as Stormy says, it's a great ending to the series. So I start backtracking, but it is done. So basically what I did was I read to Stormy, I think, like up to chapter 12 or 13, and then I read chapter 19 and 20 to her and kind of like told her what was happening in between. But, a lot of tears were flying, especially over the years of Stormy being a part of the entire journey from start to finish on this series alone. It was good, though. And so many people, it's funny, too, because so many people, I never thought the books would amount to anything other than just something fun that I was doing. But so many people reaching out in support and saying that they enjoyed them, that they liked the characters, that they were, having an emotional connection to some of these people and that I had created. And, I mean, they're all different variations of myself at different points in my life, which I've talked about many times in my lives. Lots of tears for sure, but good tears. Yes. Definitely, for sure. But, for those of you who haven't checked it out, they are on Amazon. You can just even Google my name, Nick Belisi, and you will find them there that way too. Or you can look up my name on Amazon, or you can look up the books on Amazon, or the links are also on all the social media platforms such as Facebook or TikTok. Like, they have all the platforms on there. You can definitely check it out. And I hope you guys do. I'm excited to get back to it. I'm excited to launch the merch. I'm excited to do the lives again when it does come down to it. And, if anybody wants to reach out or talk or anything, you can always private message me. I'm basically just sitting here because I can't do anything really other than that. But, I, at the end of the day, need to get better first. And then we can finally get back to what we need to when it comes to, helping people and getting the information out there. Like I said, I have some things in the work when I get better. I was talking to, when I first got injured, I was speaking to one of my local delis around here that's very popular, and they're called GNS. They had said they wanted to do a collab where I would make a pizza, and they would do their live, I would do my live, just as something fun to do. So I'm very, very much looking forward to doing that. I think that would be great. They're such a great place to eat at and stuff, and they've been a staple of my life since I was very, very young. And anyone that's from this area, you could always count on getting your GNS Taylor ham, egg and cheese, and it's phenomenal. It's been a long time since I've been able to stomach something like that, but I am looking forward to getting that fixed and getting that. Also, like I said earlier in the live with the MHA, when I get better, my plan is to go over there and start doing some volunteer work with them. We'll do some live streams about it so some professionals can get the word out there as far as how you can get help, especially if you're in the local area. They can give you the resources that you need to start making a change. And like I said, it's very painful what's happened and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's been a blessing in disguise too, because it's helped me kind of buckle down on things in my life and start reappreciating the things that I do have. So it's been a journey, and I guess that's what life is at the end of the day. So thank you all who have joined and listened to me rant for the last while. I hope to get back to a normal schedule soon. I hope to go back to work soon. I hope that this all just gets resolved very, very soon. I really just want everything to be back to the way it was. And I'm going to keep pushing on and remaining positive and doing what I got to do to get us there. So thank you guys for joining, and I will be in touch soon.